Jupiter in the ninth house in the birth chart creates this person that's really open to all kinds of expansion, all kinds of revelations for something new, all kinds of ways that they can grow and be the best person that they are truly meant to become. So, what makes a Jupiter in the ninth house person unique? Well, I have it in my birth chart. And I'm going to be describing this placement in a little bit of a cookbook type way. So just excuse me if I just isolate this piece of the puzzle out as opposed to the other pieces. You have to take the whole chart and put it into consideration. You can't take one aspect of it, but I will be describing this one aspect. So if you have this and things resonate with you, great. If they don't, that's fine. That's fine. Just take what resonates and leave the rest. Be open, be curious as I describe this placement in depth. Going through the qualities of this placement. Going through what it's all about. Now we have to understand, first of all, what these two things mean. What Jupiter means. It's the planet of expansion. It's a planet of growth and higher learning. It's a planet of taking something and then just growing it. Like not being in your stuck knowledge base or place or situation, but going beyond what you already know. To discover yourself, to discover new things, to grow in your life. Jupiter is about growth, higher, more philosophical growth. The ninth house rules travel. It can rule publishing, higher education. It's a bit of a grab bag of a house because there's a lot of stuff in it and a lot of stuff to be said about it. It rules basically your philosophy over life, how you go about higher meaning, how you go about, basically rules, your beliefs that you have over life. So, I like to put the houses in a more spiritual context as opposed to the more mundane context of what the areas that they rule, more describing as opposed to just listing, because I don't find listing off adjectives and descriptions all that interesting. I think that astrologers who talk about a placement, they give sentences, full sentences where they take one truth and they give a nuanced meaning of that placement that you didn't think of it before. Like, oh, the way of describing it is so new. I didn't think of it that way before. That was not what I was expecting. That's so interesting. That's insightful. That's what I find interesting. And Christopher Winstrom is one of those astrologers that does that. I want to recommend too, although I haven't seen it yet, he actually has a new video on Jupiter in Leo for all 12 signs. You may want to go check that out because I think there's a lot of pearls of wisdom in that video. I'm planning on seeing it. And the video is just packed with knowledge and insight, and just very well done videos. And so I highly recommend that you go check that out. Because I'm sure there's a lot to be gained from that particular video. Is a video that I'm recommending, and you can actually go check out your Jupiter in Leo horoscopes on this channel. In this podcast, they're available for you to check out. If you want my interpretations, but if you want his interpretations, you can go to his channel and, and watch that video. I think that you'll really enjoy it if you're really into astrology. I think that you'll really like what he has to give there. So, Jupiter in the ninth house. Now, delving in. So Jupiter's the great benefic. It brings benevolence. It's very benevolent. And the thing about this placement is if it can remain benevolent, it can remain good and positive and uplifting, and that's where it can thrive. If it gets egotistical or egoic or really, really arrogant, which I'll get into later, then there's some problems. There's some dents in the road. There's some blocks in the road. So, someone with Jupiter in the 9th house is a philosopher at heart. They are philosophers at heart. And in order to understand what I'm even talking about, let's just look at the meaning of a philosopher. They seek wisdom about, it says here, the nature of reality, why we exist, the bigger questions of life that cannot be answered in just one sentence, like Gemini is the questions that can be answered in just a sentence or a conversation. Sagittarius is the big, broader questions that the theologians, for example, and and that nobody knows the full answers to these questions. There's not more than one answer, and it takes experience. It takes you actually experiencing things, experiencing life to actually answer those questions. It's not just a one and done. It takes a lot of your life to be able to answer those kind of big questions. So, okay. So, meaning of life. So that's what it also has to do with. So you're someone who is a philosopher. You seek the truth, and I am very, very much, a Sagittarian. I mean, I have Sagittarius rising, Pluto in Sagittarius. Jupiter is my chart ruler in the 9th house, and it's retrograde. So that just amplifies it because, a lot of it is internal. A lot of it is my own learning through my own experiences. And I have another episode that I did on Jupiter retrograde, which I did back on June 17th, if you want to go back and check that out. But so anyway, you seek the truth. You want the truth. You want the deeper meaning. You want the broader meaning of life. That's what you're really after. That is what you're really after in that kind of way, is that deeper meaning. And so, what you're all about is you're all about studying knowledge. You're really all about the study of knowledge. Studying intellectual subjects, deeper philosophical subjects. I guess maybe, are you an armchair philosopher? Are you an active philosopher? That could depend upon a lot of various factors. But you get wisdom from the knowledge that you seek. You gain wisdom. That's really, really huge. That wisdom gets compiled in your mind, gets put into your mind of all the wisdom teachings that you have gathered, of everything that you have learned about, become into your mind, and you store it away in a little cupboard, a little alcove in your mind, and you hold that knowledge very, very sacred to you. So knowledge plus experience, if you put those two together, you get wisdom. Wisdom comes from understanding, but it doesn't come from just the facts and the intellectual ways of being alone. It takes many, many years to acquire wisdom. It takes months to acquire wisdom, so that's what we have to remember. You want to understand why we exist. Why do we exist? That's the age-old question. You want to understand the deeper meanings of life. And I am also a 7 life path. So 7 life paths need to go on their own quest of truth. They need to seek truth, and when they find the answers that make them feel happy and content, or the answers to their questions, to their deeper questions, and they feel happier than they feel content. So that's what we're remembering with the seekers of the truth. So you're all about the both and here. You're all about both knowledge and wisdom combined into one. And so what you want is to understand the more philosophical meaning of life. You want to understand the deeper meaning of life. So it's that's what you're all about, really. This meaning makes you feel prosperous. When you understand greater philosophy, when you understand greater knowledge, greater understanding in that broader level, then you feel prosperous. There's this sense of abundance, a sense of prosperity, sense of wealth that you feel with this kind of thing. And you're all about expanding your horizons, all about growing. And so Jupiter and Sagittarius are about expansion, expanding your horizons, learning new things. You're all about the quest, learning different new things. You want to find the truth in everything. You want to seek the truth in everything. That's what you're all about. What is the truth that can be gained from this experience, from this occasion, from this circumstance? That's the truth that you want to find. Is that truth in what you are learning, in what you are engaging in what you are understanding? And you want to find that meaning with that. You tend to question things. Jupiter and Sagittarius, how they question life. They go to somebody and they want to have a whole philosophical conversation with them. They want to question all these things. They want to ask questions. They want to have these deep philosophical conversations with them that are very, very huge in that kind of a sense of the word. So, you want to question things. You want to ask the bigger questions. You want to have conversations. You want to do all these kind of things. That's what you're all about. Is questioning things, questioning life, questioning the meaning of life, etc. You may struggle with a couple of different things. You may struggle with coming to certain conclusions. Reaching these certain conclusions, really, really getting to these certain conclusions really, really easily. And then teaching the information, that you have, that you've gained with confidence. And you're certain about this information. And you're just so certain that you're just teaching it. You're just at your whiteboard and the students are at their desk and then you're teaching it. But what about the actual learning? What about the completion of the process of learning this thing to where you can fully understand it? To where you fully mastered this subject before you have your expertise on it. Before you reach those conclusions, which could make all the difference if you didn't see certain details before. So these things could really make a world of difference if you just see the conclusion for this. Reach the conclusion. And when you find that truth, when you reach that truth, so you may just jump the gun on this kind of thing. That may be a negative. And when you share a certain piece of information, there is this feeling of rejection that you get from others. This rejection of what if they're going to be against my ideas? What if they're not going to like my ideas? What if they're going to completely be in rejection of my ideas? It's this fear of others rejecting you. And when others reject you, when others are not open to their ideas, or when you feel like others are rejecting you, you take it personally. How come you gave so much knowledge and wisdom and they rejected it and didn't appreciate what you had to give? That's a question that I just want to pose for you. You may not like it when other people question your beliefs. When others question what you truly believe, what you're all about. When others ask you questions, probe into you, ask you all these things about your beliefs, about your philosophy, and this and that. So you may not like it when your beliefs are questioned. When your beliefs are not acknowledged and not appreciated, not accepted by others. There is this rejection of others questioning what you truly feel about the world. What is your own personal philosophy about the world? If somebody asks you, why do you believe this thing? And I think that you can easily take this as an attack. The reality is they're not trying to attack you. They're just trying to understand you better. They're just trying to facilitate and have a conversation with you about your beliefs. So be open, share, have conversations. Use the opposite sign of Gemini. The night house corresponds to Sagittarius. Use the Gemini energy to be open-minded, to be curious, to have conversations, to share intellectually. They're not trying to attack you. They're just trying to understand you. They're not trying to judge you. They're just trying to understand where you come from, your perspective, your beliefs. So that's very, very important to understand. You may be surprised when others aren't open, like the world's not out to get you is what I want to say. You may be surprised when others aren't open to what you have to share, truly. You may be surprised with this, to what you have to share as you are with what they have to say. So, you're very, very open to what they share. Why aren't they reciprocating that? Why aren't they as open as you are to what they say? And all I want to say to you with compassion, because I want to say this compassionately, You're not wrong. Okay. You're not wrong. I think that this can come when you show egoic arrogance. I think that if you were to be very, very open-hearted and in your soul, just sharing it for the purpose of sharing it, then they would be, more open to it because of the delivery, because you're delivering it in a way where it's defensive and angry and argumentative and this and that. And so therefore they're not as open to it. So say it in a way which is from your heart, which is kind, which is, open-minded and not thinking that you know all and that you know best. So, when you're so sure of yourself, when you're really, really sure and absolutely confident in your abilities, absolutely confident in what you're doing, absolutely confident in what you are producing, excuse me, what you're saying, what you're sharing. Why are you so sure of yourself? Do you have the humility, the intellectual humility? And I'm going to look up what intellectual humility is. So it's about understanding that your beliefs and your knowledge are not perfect. That they're not certainty, that you're not this guru, that you're not just this wise old person with all this wisdom and the most knowledge and the most expertise and just have all this knowledge and this and that, with what you're learning and what you're sharing, that you don't know all, really, knowing that, being open to what you don't know, claiming that, you don't know all, not pretending like you do know all. And when we are humble, we are admitting our imperfections. We are admitting how limited we are, saying that we are not a perfect being. We're just learning and growing. And that's not an excuse that by any means. It is just us being honest that we are a soul growing and learning, and being human doesn't have to be a bad thing. So, you can have errors. Admitting that you can have errors. And so, you don't know all. We are open-minded to new things, new learning, new pieces of information. We're just open to this. Open to understanding, open to new ways of thinking about the world. And you're willing to change your mind. Willing to change your mind. Willing to stretch your mind. Willing to bend like a bamboo, not being so rigid in your beliefs and in your thinking. Not willing to be so stubborn in what you believe and what you know. Rather than being egoic as it says here. Rather than thinking that you know all. Can you be open-minded? Can you have your sense of truth? But can you say it in a way that's not ego-based? Can you have your sense of truth and have your sense of your own beliefs with the open-mindedness toward other ideas, other beliefs, other ways of looking about the world, other perspectives, new information, being open to new information. So, it's about continuing to learn and grow and ask questions. Learning and growing, doing all that, and asking questions. Curious and be open to the answers of those questions. Like Gemini at work, you just ask all these questions and not just learn and get the answers. Like that's what I did with my grandma one time. I asked all these questions. What does this word mean? What does that word mean? I wasn't receptive toward what the actual answer to those questions are. And you're all about the answers to the questions. Understanding what you don't know. Admitting that you don't know. Being open to learning. Being a lifelong learner. Being a learner that learns all throughout his or her life. Not showing intellectual arrogance. And to discuss intellectual arrogance, you are thinking that you know all, again, not open to others' perspectives. Resistance to new information is also what that is. Not showing open-mindedness toward learning and growing. Where you need to balance it out. Balance this out with balance your own truth and your own being strong in your beliefs with open-mindedness toward new things. And not thinking that you are the wisest person on the planet. That's part of wisdom, is admitting you don't know. That you are not the wisest, most of all being on the planet. That's what it can be. You believe that everything occurs for a reason, that there is a spiritual meaning, that there's a higher meaning behind why things happen in life, and difficult experiences have wisdom in them. Difficult experiences have wisdom inside of them to support you to grow and evolve. The difficult things that we encounter. Even though they're tough, even though they're very, very difficult and painful, and they have struggles to them. We struggle through these experiences. There's wisdom in them to help us to become more wiser individuals, more wiser humans. So that's also, I think, what this can be. Now, if you were to teach, you may think that everyone learns and teaches, that there is constant student-teacher relationships between everyone. And as well as teaching the students, you also learn from the students as you help them along in their pathway in life. At best, you are open to learning from them, because we are all humans, we are all sovereigns, we all have our different perspectives, and can we not have ageism towards people that are younger than us, that we think, they're not as wise as us, they're not as knowledgeable, but they are different. They're sovereign beings, they have their own souls, they have their own perspective, they have their own life experience. So can we be open to anyone's perspective over life? No matter what. and at best Sagittarius is open to anyone and everyone. So, you are curious at best, and there is a humble need to keep growing and keep learning. That's the higher displacement. Your truth isn't the only one. Your truth isn't the only truth. There are multiple right truths. There is no one right truth going on here. Your truth, your window to the world, is not the only window. There are multiple truths, there are multiple understandings, there are multiple aspects of life that are true, that do hold, that are valid, that are valuable in terms of how truthful and honest they are. And so you may take on too many projects at worst. Learning instead of really focusing and dedicating your time and attention to one particular thing. That's what it can be here. Where you're learning all these things, but where's the devotion? Where is the devoting the time and attention to really master that thing? You can generously share your knowledge. You can go after you can go after what it is that you want that's in alignment with what you value on a philosophical level, at best. And I'm going to look up philosophical values to discuss this here. The principles and the beliefs that really make way for how we act, what we choose, and how we go about a life filled with meaning, as it says here. So that's what I want to discuss with that. So really living in a life in alignment with what values you're going after, sharing your knowledge in that kind of way, and doing all those kind of things like that. Where you're open to learning and you're sharing knowledge. And you are firm with your philosophy, you're firm with your truth, you stand strong in your truth, with what you know spiritually, because you're a deeply spiritual person, yet you're not rigid in that truth. That's the path of evolution for Jupiter in the 9th house. Okay, so that is all that I have to say in this episode of the Cosmic Sky podcast. I will see you back tomorrow, where I will be discussing the Mars-Uranus conjunction in Gemini. If you're watching this on June 30th of this year, or July 1st, or whenever this is getting published, at the end of June, beginning of July of this year, 2026. Tune in for tomorrow's episode, where I will be discussing the Mars-Uranus conjunction. It's going to be wild. Maybe it's a time of frustrations and a time of breaking free from the status quo and rebellion. I'm going to be discussing all that on the next couple of videos coming up, both the collective video and the video for all 12 zodiac signs. So, anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you tomorrow.